Hello again and welcome to ESPN Classic Canada's presentation of the 1992 World Series between the Atlanta Braves and the Toronto Blue Jays. Tonight, we go back to October 21st, 1992 for Game 4 from Skydome. Toronto's won 2 straight games, enjoying a 2-1 lead in the series, while the Braves look to rebound from a pair of late-inning losses. Both teams knee-deep in pitching, but the respective managers were using opposite theories for their starting rotation. For Blue Jay manager Cito Gaston, he elected to give the well-rested Jimmy Key his first start of the postseason. Meanwhile, Atlanta manager Bobby Cox employed a 3-man rotation, something that didn't bother Game 4 starter Tom Glavine, even though he was throwing on only 3 days' rest.
For me, being a location pitcher, a lot of times I'm better off going out there feeling tired or on 3 days' rest because I don't try and throw the ball as hard, and I don't try to be so fine. I just kind of, I just let it go, and the fact that I'm tired sometimes gives me a little bit more sink on my ball and a little bit more movement on my changeup, and those things are all an advantage to me.
This team reminds me a little bit of Milwaukee. You can't let the leadoff guy get on base. That starts everything for them, no matter who's leading off that inning, because they like to take advantage of hitting and running or stealing bases, and to get the leadoff guy on, it puts a lot of pressure on you as a pitcher. So my first and foremost goal is to get the first guy out of every inning and then go from there, and hopefully I'll be able to do that.
All right, let's head to Skydome as we join Sean McDonough and Tim McCarver for the call of Game 4 of the 1992 World Series.
Last night in Toronto, this was no kids' game. The lines were drawn for the battles of October, filled with unforgettable World Series moments. Funny thing about baseball, just when you start to taste victory, there's always somebody else who cleans your plate. And you talk about hungry. In the bottom of the 9th, this battle was settled. And the Atlanta Braves found themselves away from home in a dome, down 2-1. The good news? Guess who's coming to dinner tonight?
The starting lineup tonight for the Atlanta Braves against Jimmy Key. Otis Nixon leads off in center field. Jeff Blauser, the shortstop. Terry Pendleton batting third at third base. The cleanup hitter is DH Lonnie Smith. David Justice, the only left-handed hitter in the lineup, in right field. Ron Gant back in the lineup in left field. Brian Hunter batting 7th at first base. The catcher Damon Berryhill bats 8th, and batting 9th, the second baseman Mark Lemke.
The defense for the Toronto Blue Jays, Candy Maldonado, he had an assist last night. He had 12 during the regular season. In left field, Devon White with that remarkable catch last night, and almost triple play for the Blue Jays against the Braves. Joe Carter once again in right field this evening. Kelly Gruber will be the third baseman. Manuel Lee at shortstop. Roberto Alomar in that great range at second base. John Olerud at first base. And Pat Borders once again behind the plate.
And on the mound making his World Series debut, 31-year-old left-hander Jimmy Key, who finished the regular season at 13-13, but he won each of his last 5 decisions. Key is ready to go, and another sellout crowd is on hand at Skydome. They expect nearly 52,000. Otis Nixon leads off. He's a switch hitter. And he's looking to end an 0-for-11 drought since he pulled on the first pitch in the first inning in Game 1 off Jack Morris. We're underway. 1 strike on Nixon, who fouled one back to the screen. Otis was a better right-handed hitter during the regular season.
You saw only 22 RBIs for the leadoff batter. What leadoff hitters want to do, score a lot of runs. And from the leadoff position, the Atlanta Braves led the National League this year with 116 runs scored. They also got 200 hits out of that position. Only the Reds and the Expos had 200 hits from their leadoff guys.
The 1-1 pitch is a breaking ball low and in. Jimmy Key is a native of Huntsville, Alabama. And a product of Clemson University. Nixon has his second hit of the series. His first since the first inning of game one. He slapped one into right, and the Braves have the lead man on. Dan Morrison, as Jim Cott mentioned, in the spotlight as the home plate umpire tonight. Bob Davidson at first, John Shulock at second, Jerry Crawford at third. Mike Riley is along the left field line, and Joe West is in right.
We talked about how to approach Jimmy Key, and you can only tell by the first hitter. Otis Nixon's approach was perfect. Sinker away, and he lined one to right.
Nixon at 41 stolen bases during the regular season, and Key has an excellent pickoff move. It'll be a bit more difficult for the Braves to run tonight against the tandem of Key and Borders.
It'll be a bit more difficult with Bob Davidson at first base. Bob, more than any other National League umpire, calls a lot of balks.
Affectionately known as Balk and Bob by
Balk and
some
Bob.
in the National League. One strike on Jeff Blauser, who waits as Nixon draws another throw. Otis a perfect 2 for 2 in the World Series in stolen bases. Good move. Out at first is Otis Nixon.
Otis Nixon is just flat out nailed space. You see him lean towards second, back too late to first. Fine move by Jimmy Key.
He was out with room to spare. Now Blauser takes a ball, and it's 1-1. After Otis Nixon was called out by Bob Davidson, Pat Corrales, the first base coach, did speak with the first base umpire about the move. It wasn't a heated protest, but a point was made by Pat Corrales to the first base umpire. There's Pat.
Pat, a former Major League manager. He managed the Philadelphia Phillies and the Cleveland Indians. Also the Texas Rangers.
3 balls and a strike now on Blauser, whose only hit in this series was in game 2. A single. Key, a relatively quick worker, and Blauser singles to center. Again, Tim, we see the approach that you spoke of at the top of the telecast, taking Jimmy Key to the opposite field or up the middle.
And we said it in the pregame comments. See if that ball's on the sweet part of the bat. If you try to pull it, you pull it to the left side of the infield and hit it weakly on the end of the bat. But keeping the left shoulder in there for a right-handed batter is essential to hit Jimmy Key well, or for that matter, Tommy Glavine.
So the pickoff looks even bigger now as Terry Pendleton stands in. He started to find his stroke last night when he went 2 for 4. He's now 3 for 12 in the World Series. Back-to-back hits to start the ball game for Atlanta, but Otis Nixon was picked off. Pendleton showed bunt and took a breaking ball low. Jimmy Williams, the third base coach, threw the signs for Pendleton and Blauser. And a strike. 1-1. Like Otis Nixon, Terry Pendleton, a much better hitter from the right side of the plate. He hit .354 right-handed during the regular season, and he's hitting .625 in the postseason from the right. That It's 5 for 8 for Pendleton against left-handed pitching in the postseason. Blauser at first and 1 out. We're in the top of the first inning in Game 4 of the World Series. Blauser with a delayed steal, and the throw did not get him. Well, that was kind of strange. Blauser, fooled by the move, got a very late start. It looked like a hit and run as Pendleton swung through the pitch, but Jeff wound up safe at second nonetheless.
I think he called it right both ways. Really, it looked like a delayed steal and a hit and run. I think what Jeff was thinking, you've got to make sure against a guy like Jimmy Key, you make sure that he doesn't throw to first base. The obligation is on the hitter to put the ball in play. The Braves end up getting a stolen base out of it, however.
You see, Borders didn't realize that Blauser was running. He hesitated before delivering to second. Pendleton hammers one to short. Lee the catch, throw to second, not in time. And Alomar goes leaping over Blauser. So another ball well struck by the Braves. But Pendleton hit it right at the shortstop Lee, and they had a chance to double off Blauser.
That was a curveball, and the third line drive in a row hit off Jimmy Key. Alomar, who was playing Pendleton straight away, is late on arriving and hurdles Jeff Blauser. Like Edwin Moses on that play. Huh?
Now Lonnie Smith. That 1 for 4 came last night. He singled a drive and a run in the 8th inning. At the time it gave Atlanta a 2-1 lead. Smith in his 60th postseason game. This is the 5th World Series in which he has appeared. 1-1 the count.
And if the Braves can come back and win, Lonnie Smith will be the first player ever to play on 4 world champion teams, different teams. The Phillies in 1980, the Cardinals in 1982, the Kansas City Royals in 1985, and if Atlanta can win it this year, the Braves.
Fastball. Occasionally Key will try to sneak the fastball over the inside part of the plate or off the inside of the plate to keep the hitters honest. That one missed, and it's 2-1. Two outs and a runner at second. No score in the top of the first. Smith checked his swing and took a ball low and away. Jeff Blauser is the runner at second. Now the 3-1 to short. Lee throws him out. After half an inning, the Braves nothing, and the Blue Jays coming up.
Decorating or renovating? Use Homeworks home remodeling software and see how the job looks before you start, using actual photos of your home. Approved by the Canadian Home Builders Association, Homeworks is available only at Home Hardware Building Center, and Home Furniture. Homeworks features more than 2,500 actual products and a $25 home gift card with a project purchase. Before you start, use Homeworks and picture the difference. Only at Home Hardware.
Help is close to home.
To master the great outdoors, the pros choose Husqvarna for exceptional power, performance, and precision. Now you too can master your great outdoors with professionally proven Husqvarna. Find your servicing dealer at husqvarna.ca.
Nissan Versa. It makes driving fun.
You can win a trip to Alexander Keith's birthday in Halifax on October 5th. Find invitations in specially marked cases of Keith's. Must be legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. Visit keiths.ca for contest entry and details.
As a former make-believe doctor, there's one product I can recommend against the torment of chronic odor and wetness. Old Spice Pro Strength Antiperspirant. It's clinical strength protect, but you don't need a real doctor to get it.
Here you go. Thank you, Mr. Hines. I'll be right back with your check.
How often you check your credit? Chances are, less than you need to. Not a good idea these days. Your identity could be stolen faster than you can say heartburn.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Come back and see us again soon. Thank you.
So keep an eye on yours all year long with 24/7 credit monitoring from transunion.ca. Stay you.
You're watching Where Were You in '92? Here on ESPN Classic.
Center fielder Devon White leads off for the Toronto Blue Jays tonight. Roberto Alomar batting second at second base. Joe Carter is the right fielder. The cleanup hitter DH Dave Winfield. Batting fifth at first base John Olerud. Batting sixth in left field Candy Maldonado. The third baseman Kelly Gruber bats seventh. Hitting eighth edging Pat Borders, and the shortstop Manuel Lee bats ninth. That is the lineup. The Blue Jays send up against 26-year-old lefty Tom Glavine, who was the winning pitcher for Atlanta in Game 1 as he went the distance.
He pitched a four-hitter on Saturday, the only complete game of this series, and his only two postseason wins have been in the World Series. He is 2-5 in postseason play, a 20-game winner this year.
For the second consecutive year, Devon White digs in. Just 1 for 13 in the World Series. He had an RBI single in Game 2. No score as the Jays bat for the first time tonight. And White looked at Glavine's first pitch, low and away. And a strike, 1-1.
It'll be interesting to see if the Toronto hitters adjust to Tommy Glavine, and if they do, we'll see if Glavine changes his pattern of Game 1, and that was low and away to right-handers.
Good breaking ball. White questions the call by Dan Morrison. 1 ball and 2 strikes. White made what Dave Winfield calls the greatest catch in World Series history last night.
Jim Cott alluding to the fact that Dan Morrison has a very honest, rigid strike zones, very structured, by the book. No gimmies with Dan Morrison.
Glavine might have had a few gimmies from Jerry Crawford in Game 1 as he nibbled at that outside corner. Two-two pitch, fouled out of play. Being aware of Jim Cott's reputation on the golf course, not too many gimmies coming from him either. Now the 2-2. That's an example of a pitch that might have gone Glavine's way in Game 1. Instead, it's a full count. That was a great catch by White last night, and it nearly started a triple play, which would have been only the second in World Series history. That's through the middle, and again, the approach to these left-handers. Up the middle or to the opposite field. White used it to come up with just his second hit of the World Series.
The defense for the Atlanta Braves. Ron Gann in left field and Otis Nixon in center. David Justice with a strong arm in right. Terry Pendleton at third base. Jeff Blauser, the shortstop. Mark Lemke at second base. Brian Hunter, the first baseman. And once again, Damon Berryhill behind the plate.
And the batter is Roberto Alomar, who's only 2-12 in the series, but he started the 9th inning last night with a single, stole second, and scored the winning run. He turned a bunt, took it back, and looked at a ball. Rich Hacker is the third base coach for the Blue Jays. Devon White has not attempted a stolen base in the World Series. He hasn't been on much.
He had 37 and 41 tries during the regular season. Only Henry Cotto of the Seattle Mariners had a better ratio. but he was caught 4 times in the American League Championship Series. How do you figure? I don't know.
That's amazing. Only thrown out 4 times during the entire regular season and 41 tries. Then he's thrown out 4 times in 6 games against Oakland.
I think one of the reasons, Terry Steinbach.
And the Oakland pitching staff, which Cito Gaston says does the best job of holding of any staff in baseball. Glavine with the slide step. That's a double play ball if they hurry. And no chance as White was on top of Lemke. 1 out. They erased the lead runner. And it's Alomar at first base with 1 down in the first, no score.
Once again, that's what we were talking about in the opening. White with the ideal approach to Tommy Glavine, and Roberto Alomar with the approach that's going to get you a lot of ABs without any hits. The ground ball to shortstop.
Joe Carter digs in. He's 3 for 10 with 2 solo home runs. One of those at the expense of Tom Glavine in the 4th inning of Game 1. It was the only run surrendered by Atlanta that night. Carter pops it up first base side. It will be close. Hunter to the rail without a play. It's 2-0. Tim, the philosophy about which you've been speaking, to go up the middle and go to the opposite field, is it more difficult for these power hitters in the middle of the order like Carter to take on that mindset?
That's an interesting question. I think they do the same thing by taking on that approach to hitting. That doesn't mean you can't pull the ball. If the ball's inside, your hands will react to the inside pitch. You hit the outside pitch and the inside pitch the same way, but you've got to have the right approach, and everything keys off the front shoulder.
Carter waiting for the 0-1 pitch with 1 out and Alomar at first. Robbie 6 for 6 in stolen bases in the postseason. He was heading back to first as Glavine delivered the pitch. Here's Jim Cott.
Sean and Tim, you'll see the apparatus that Robbie Alomar and Devon White wear. A lot more base runners do it in the future. It's the same kind of a guard you'd wear on your wrist if you were doing inline skating or rollerblading. When you slide, it'll give you some protection on the palm. It'll keep you from hyperextending your wrist. High-tech baseball.
Alomar hadn't had much of a chance to employ that guard prior to last night when he stole his first stolen base of the World Series. But it came at the most opportune time for the Jays as they won 3-2 to take a 2-1 lead. He's not running. Carter pulls it slowly to third. Pendleton's only play at first. He intentionally threw it into the turf to speed it up. And Carter is out. Alomar to second with 2 down.
The first infielder that made this throw by design was Davey Concepcion, the shortstop of the Cincinnati Reds. A one-hopper to first base. That, as said, was by design.
And now Dave Winfield. Like Carter, he's 3 for 10 in the series. Winfield does not have a home run. All 3 of his hits singles. He's had 1 hit in each of the first 3 games. No score. The Blue Jays threaten with 2 down in the bottom of the first, and Roberto Alomar at second base. Breaking ball stayed outside. 1-0 on Winfield. Bobby Cox waited a while before naming Tom Glavine the starter for Game 4. He wanted to see how Glavine bounced back after throwing 126 pitches in Game 1. Glavine threw on the side here on the off day at Sky Dome on Monday. Threw extremely well, and that erased any doubt that Bobby Cox might have had in his mind. There is the Atlanta skipper who was ejected from last night's game by home plate umpire Joe West, and he threw a helmet out onto the playing field. Bobby told us before the game, as we suspected last night, he did not mean to throw the helmet onto the field, tried to bounce it off the step, but he missed. Winfield appeared in 2 World Series, this one in the 1981 World Series while a member of the New York Yankees. He was 1 for 22. Alomar heads to third without a throw. During the regular season, Alomar stole third base 12 times. Only Marquise Grissom of Montreal stole third more often. He stole third 24 times.
Twice as many as Alomar. Craig Biggio and Luis Polonia also stole third 12 times. It is not often with 2 outs that you steal third without a throw, but Terry Pendleton holding his position.
Winfield up the middle. Lemke from behind the bag throws him out. A nice play to end the inning. The Blue Jays threaten but do not score. After 1 at the Sky Dome, no score.
New Ultima. I hear they're pretty cheap these days.
They're not cheap. They're inexpensive. You cut your own hair. That's cheap.
You'll get passionate about new prices on every Nissan model, like the Altima, now from $22,698. See your retailer today.
In this world, there are spenders and savers. But can the two ever meet? Yes, because now when you spend with your Scotiabank debit card, your purchases can be rounded up, and the difference is transferred into a savings account. It's called Bank the Rest, and if you sign up now with a Scotia One account, we'll match your savings up to $100. So you spend and you save. You're richer than you think. Scotiabank.
We don't need multiple shipping companies to do one job. As VP Operations, I say we make things easier and use FedEx for everything.
As Senior VP Operations, I agree.
As Executive Senior VP Operations, I concur. Wilfred?
You gotta stay lean and mean. FedEx it is.
Here, here.
Bravo, sir.
That's why he's the Chief Deputy Executive CEO Operations, Northern Hemisphere.
Rule number 51, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Number 18, finish what you start. Number 95, play as hard as you work.
Decorating or renovating? Use Homeworks home remodeling software and see how the job looks before you start, using actual photos of your home. Approved by the Canadian Home Builders Association, Homeworks is available only at Home Hardware Building Center, and Home Furniture. Homeworks features more than 2,500 actual products and a $25 home gift card with a project purchase. Before you start, use Homeworks and picture the difference. Home Hardware.
Help is close to home.
You're watching Where Were You in '92 here on ESPN Classic.
Well, what a way to enjoy a World Series ball game from one of the restaurants in the outfield here at the Sky Dome. That's in straightaway center at the Windows Restaurant. Just below the rooms in the Sky Dome Hotel that look down on the playing field that have been going for about $1,000 a night for the World Series.
Except for the Blue Jay players, of course. Some of them are residents, full-time residents at the Sky Dome Hotel. Roberto Alomar is one, David Cohn another. There it is.
Those are the hotel rooms above the restaurant. Damon Berryhill the batter, 1-2 the count. He's just 1 for 11 in the series, but his one hit was the 3-run homer that propelled Atlanta to victory in Game 1. Mark Lemke to follow in the top of the order, and Otis Nixon the third, no score. Still 1-2. Berryhill has had a tough time making contact in the World Series. He's fanned 7 times, which ties a World Series record for most strikeouts by one player in the first 3 games of the World Series. Pulled foul past Jimmy Williams in the third base coach's box. You mentioned Alomar and Cohn live in the Sky Dome Hotel during the year, but they don't have the glamorous rooms that look down over the playing field. They have the lower priced rooms that look over the railroad tracks. It's really a decidedly different view.
I understand those rooms.
Pitches in the dirt. Berryhill strikes out again, and Borders a nice throw to get him. Borders had to be very careful not to hit Berryhill with the throw as Damon was running down the line, and the throw was right on the money. 8 strikeouts in the series now for Berryhill.
You know, this is a situation where if Berryhill is running where he should be outside the line, the ball stands a better chance to hit him. He was running inside the line, and had he been running properly outside the line, the ball stood a better chance of hitting him. And had that happened, that would have been okay, and he would have been awarded first base. But it was a fine play by Pat Borders.
Now Mark Lemke up there with a count of 0-1. He's 2 for 10 in the series and 0 for his last 5. Facing Jimmy Key, who has now retired 6 in a row after giving up back-to-back singles to start the ball game. One and 2, the count on Lemke. And Key up and in. Jimmy's looking for his 3rd straight strikeout. He fanned Hunter to end the 2nd, and Berryhill leading off the 3rd. Now another World Series moment from Game 4 in 1941.
Pitcher starting his windup out there again. He's all ready now. Watch it. Here it comes. He swung at the ball and missed it. The ball gets away from the catcher, and Henrich goes to first. The umpire to Henrich swung. It was a clean strike. The ball got away from the catcher, and so Henrich is entitled to first because he got there ahead of the throw.
The Yankees go on to score 4 in the 9th and win that game 7-4. Take a 3-1 lead in the series against Brooklyn. Somewhat reminiscent of the play involving Borders a moment ago, except this time Borders threw the runner out. Otis Nixon at the plate. A ball and a strike to count. Otis singled to right field for just his 2nd hit of the series as he started the ball game. With Nixon at the plate, Gruber lingers in front of the bag at 3rd. Olerud a half step behind the bag at 1st and close to the line. The 2-1. Popped out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Otis Nixon is known as Otis Nixon in his hometown of Evergreen, North Carolina. That is the way his father's name is pronounced. His parents, Otis and Gracie, no doubt watching the game, as are all of the folks, all 650 of them in Evergreen, North Carolina.
Watching this World Series Odyssey. Otis pulled it down to 3rd to Gruber, who guns him down. 1, 2, 3. Go the Braves again.
That was good.
Thank you.
I like that.
We'll return to Sky Dome after this word from your local station. I knew you would.
Derek Jeter, humanitarian, leader, athlete, for the Movado Precision Timepiece Series 800. The art of performance. Movado Series 800.
Hello, I'm a Mac. And I'm a PC.
And I'm a Mac genius, and I'm here to announce that it's easier than ever to switch to a Mac.
Easier? What's she talking about? Oh, CPC, when you buy a Mac at the Apple Store, Mac Genius will transfer your files from your old PC to your new Mac for free.
We do all the work.
Oh, no. My frustrated users don't need to hear about that. You see, fear of switching is the foundation of customer loyalty for PCs. So, we'll just shut this down.
What are you doing, PC?
Going off the air.
You style chest hair here?
No.
Too bad.
Ow! I'm sorry.
Excuse me. I'm here for the stylist position.
As Mother Nature, I'm proud of Mott's Garden Cocktail. 2 servings of vegetables. Zesty, smooth, and surprisingly delicious. I sure know how to pick them. Vegetables. I'm talking vegetables. Mott's Garden Cocktail. Hi, Mother Nature again. I just love Mott's Garden Cocktail with its garden fresh taste. And I'm not the only one. Most Canadian vegetable cocktail drinkers prefer the taste of Mott's Garden Cocktail over the leading brand. Are you one of them?
There's an unwritten code in Canada. If you live by it, chances are you've left your coat on some pile and knew it wouldn't get stolen. You've never made a move on your buddy's girlfriend. You know that on a road trip, the strongest bladder determines the pit stops. You've kept all your hockey trophies. You've replaced someone's pint if you knock theirs over. If your buddy's in trouble, you've got his back. You clap for the dancer even though she shouldn't be a dancer. You've used a blowtorch to curve your stick. You've used your ice scraper, and you've grown a beard in the postseason. This is our beer, Molson Canadian.
Tom Brady, strategist, athlete, MVP for the Movado Precision Timepiece Series 800. The art of performance. Movado Series 800.
You're watching Where Were You in 92? Here on ESPN Classic.
From the starting 5 that we have, the setup man and the closer, and from 1 to 9, we felt that we all pulled together and no one basically, pulled the team down. It was a great team.
Going back to Sky Dome, no score as we go to the bottom of the 3rd inning in Game 4. Sean McDonough along with Tim McCarver. You mentioned Evergreen is Otis Nixon's hometown.
And we are going to read this card. Research done by Steve Hurt. He's been talking to the postmaster there, Elise Johnson, who is the postmaster from Evergreen, and we found out that Evergreen has 2 Little League ballparks, 2 gas stations, a post office, a fire department, a school that goes from kindergarten to the 8th grade, a farm supply store, a print shop, and a factory. It's 55 miles south of Fayetteville, North Carolina, where Fort Bragg is, and 60 miles west of Wilmington, North Carolina.
About 650 people live in Evergreen, they tell us. That one's heading for Evergreen. Deep to left field, near the pole, and a home run. Pat Borders puts the Blue Jays on the board with a home run off Tom Glavine. Just fair down the left field line. It's 1-0 Toronto.
Allowed only 6 home runs during the regular season. In 18 innings, he's allowed 5 home runs in postseason play. And Pat Borders has been sizzling with the bat.
That's his first home run in the World Series. He's now 5 for 10 in this series against Atlanta. He had a home run in the playoffs as well. Manuel Lee out on the bounding ball to second.
Tommy Glavine was working Borders outside, and he misses. The 1-0 pitch fouled off, and now he tries to come inside. Too much of the plate.
So the Blue Jays have now homered in each of their 10 postseason games this year. Devon White looked at ball 1 outside. The Blue Jays add to their own record. They set the record last night with a home run in their 9th consecutive postseason game. That's within a single postseason. Now they've done it in 10 in a row. And the count is 1-1 on White. interesting how that can happen. You mentioned the lack of home runs surrendered by Glavine during the regular season, and it's certainly not because he pitches in a ballpark that has a deep fence. They call it the launching pad at Atlanta.
One of the easiest parks in which to hit in all of baseball. 6 home runs in only 225 innings, and here he's worked 18 2/3, and he's given up 5 in postseason play.
Now the 2-2 pitch. Slice down the right field line. Fair ball toward the corner. It took a strange bounce out of the right field corner. So strange I had trouble describing it. And Devon White has a double. Takes or took, take your pick. It doesn't matter. It's a 2-base hit all the way.
Well, Devon White once again with the proper approach to Tom Glavine. The slicing double down the line, and a fine piece of hitting by Devon White.
So after coming into the ball game 1 for 13 in the World Series, White is 2 for 2 tonight, and in scoring position with 1 out in the bottom of the 3rd. The Blue Jays lead 1-0 on the Borders home run. And Roberto Alomar is the batter. He reached on a fielder's choice. Advanced to second on a ground out, stole third, and was stranded there in the 1st inning. Glavine missed outside with a fastball. Glavine has now surrendered 3 hits. Tommy had retired 6 in a row prior to the home run by Borders. And those numbers a big reason why Alomar high 76 runs batted in this year.
That is a ton for a number 2 hitter too.
Lemke was dancing around in the second base bag, and Glavine looked White back in a second. The 2-0 pitch. High and away, 3 balls and no strikes with Joe Carter on deck.
Very unusual depth in center field. Otis Nixon plays one of the most shallow, or the shallowest, center fields in the major leagues. He has tremendous speed. He and White both have tremendous speed going back on balls, but you don't drop too many in front of either one of them.
That's ball 4 outside. Alomar walks on 4 pitches. The first walk thrown by Glavine tonight. Glavine did not issue a walk in going 9 innings in game 1. Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, on his way to the mound. There is no action in the Atlanta bullpen. One of the few negatives of the Sky Dome from the perspective of fan is that they cannot see into the bullpens from most of the seats here. They are behind the outfield fences. The members of the bullpen sit on raised bleachers so they can see over the outfield fence, and you saw Pete Smith go down the stairs to begin warming up.
From a fan's point of view, you just look down and see who's missing from the bench. And then you decide whether somebody's up and throwing or not. For the majority of the...
It is Pete Smith warming up as Joe Carter stands in. Runners at first and second and 1 out. 1-0 Toronto in the 3rd. Carter looks at the 5th straight ball thrown by Glavine. Carter bounced to 3rd his first time up. Devon White, the runner at second. Roberto Alomar at first. Outstanding speed on the bases for the Blue Jays. And a big hack by Carter. He foul tipped it into the mid of Berryhill.
When you put speed on the bases like the Blue Jays have, you get the middle infielders moving all around, and often that opens up the holes for the hitters. You have White who can run on at second and Alomar on at first. But look how close Lemke is keeping Devon White.
He was standing right. The pitch was delivered. That's a double play. Carter lined it right to Blauser. He flipped to Lemke, who had nowhere to go to get to the bag, and that ends the inning. The Blue Jays are on the board on the home run by Borders after 3, 1-0 Toronto.
Tom Glavine gets out of a potentially dangerous jam, but not before Pat Borders gives the Jays an early 1-0 lead, courtesy of the long ball. Jimmy Key is having an effective outing. He's retired 8 in a row and is pitching a 2-hit shutout through 3 complete. Not much happening in the 4th inning, so when we come back after the break, we'll pick up the action in the 5th inning. You're watching Game 4 of the 1992 World Series here on ESPN Classic Canada.
What a day for a daydream.
People go out of their way to feel protected. With TD Insurance, you don't have to worry.
What a day for a daydreaming boy.
Because we make it easy to protect yourself from the accidents of life. Get the insurance you need from the people you trust. TD Insurance. Home, auto, life, health.
Keep the good times going, starring Bud Light.
Hey, Bud Light. Hey. We're all having fun, but people seem a little
tense. I know. I think it may have something to do with Mr. Bag of Marbles over there. I'll handle this.
Guten Tag. Es verkaufen Schnitzel draußen.
Kyle, ich bedanke dir.
Okay, we don't do that.
The easy drinking taste of Bud Light.
Keep the good times going.
As Mother Nature, I'm proud of Mott's Garden Cocktail. 2 servings of vegetables. Zesty, smooth, and surprisingly delicious. I sure know how to pick them. Vegetables. I'm talking vegetables. Mott's Garden Cocktail.
Hi, Mother I just love Mott's Garden Cocktail with its garden fresh taste. And I'm not the only one. Most Canadian vegetable cocktail drinkers prefer the taste of Mott's Garden Cocktail over the leading brand. Are you one of them?
Decorating or renovating? Use Homeworks home remodeling software and see how the job looks before you start, using actual photos of your home. Approved by the Canadian Home Builders Association, Homeworks is available only at Home Hardware Building Center, and Home Furniture. Homeworks more than 2,500 actual products and a $25 home gift card with a project purchase. Before you start, use Homeworks and picture the difference. Only at Home Hardware.
Help is close to home.
You're watching Where Were You in '92? Here on ESPN Classic.
There are various ways that second basemen can protect themselves. One is with the runner bearing down, drop down, and make the runner get down. And that's what Lemke did on the double play. Nicely turned by Blauser and Lemke.
Jimmy Key working in the 5th inning. David Justice checked his swing and took a ball. Justice, then Gant and Hunter. Batters 5, 6, and 7 in the Atlanta batting order. Justice bounced out to the first baseman Olerud with Key covering in the 2nd. Jimmy Key allowed back-to-back singles to Nixon and Blauser to start the ball game, and the Braves have not had a runner since. It's really pretty fortunate, Tim, to be behind by only 1-0 as the Blue Jays, through 4 innings, have left 3 men on base and also hit into 2 double plays.
2 big double plays, you might add, including the one the last inning.
Key's counterpart, Tom Glavine, has had only 1-1-2-3 inning. Key's working on 3 straight 1-2-3 innings. Five career postseason home runs for Justice, but none in this World Series. He hit 2 in the playoffs against Pittsburgh. Been very patient at the plate. He walked 6 times in the league championship series. And he's walked 4 times already through 3 games plus in the World Series. Big swing and a miss for strike 3. 5 strikes for Jimmy Key. He averaged only 4.9 strikeouts per 9 innings this year, so he's well ahead of that pace.
There are some hitters that are characterized as contact hitters. Well, Jimmy Key is a contact pitcher. He puts the ball in play generally, but the Braves having a tough time making contact this evening.
Ron Gant looked at the ball away. He was out on a fly ball to right in the 2nd inning. Fouled off his foot. 1 ball and 1 strike. Key retired the lead man in this inning, Justice on a strikeout, and that's not a surprise. He was the best starter in the American League this season in retiring the first inning. Leadoff hitters had only a .228 on-base percentage against Jimmy Key. He walked the leadoff man only 7 times in 224 innings. So he only does that about once every 32 frames. That's on the corner. 2-2 on Gant.
And remember, throughout baseball, a team scores in only 16% of the innings when the leadoff batter is retired. That's how important it is for a guy to get the first guy. If you allow the first guy to get on, that runner scores 51% of the time, a huge jump.
Gant is overdue. 0 for his last 15, including his 0 for 1 tonight. The 3-2 pitch. Lifted to left center field. Room White. 2 away. Sean McDonough along with Tim McCarver, Jim Cott and Pat O'Brien. Happy to have you with us from the Sky Dome in Toronto, where the Blue Jays lead 1-0. Brian Hunter at the plate with 2 down and the bases empty in the Atlanta 5th. Well hit toward the gap. White on the run, and he's there to make the catch. If it stays in the air long enough, he'll get it. Halfway through game 4, Jimmy Key working on the shutout. It's 1-0 Toronto.
Hola, este es el nuevo motor Rocket E8 de Motorola. Parece un teléfono, pero con solo tocar el botón usa la rueda de navegación para buscar entre tus contactos y si pones al modo musical
Casino, Inter Casino.
It's a story. The best part about hockey are the stories, the drama.
That's a major league collision right there.
And you create it. Oh! I'm a sucker for drama. What can I say?
Rated everyone 10 and up. Console now starting at $199.
Harvey's ongoing search to make Canada's best-tasting burger even tastier led us to Brandon in Ottawa.
Hey, what about adding Canadian back bacon?
You're a genius, Brendan. Canadian back bacon with...
let's go with mustard, tomatoes, and pickles.
Anything for the man who helped make Canada's best-tasting burger even tastier. At Harvey's, there's a burger with your name on it.
Harvey's makes your hamburger a beautiful thing.
You're watching Where Were You in '92? Here on ESPN Classic.
One thing's for sure, in both Atlanta and Toronto, we've seen some very creative signs in the stands. And we've seen some outstanding baseball in both cities as well. Jimmy Key handles the comebacker from Berryhill. One pitch and one out in the Atlanta sixth.
Gives you an idea of how quickly you have to react. Jimmy Key releasing the ball, and after he releases about 55 feet away, reacting quickly and makes a rather easy play out of it. Every time you see a shot like that, you think of the shot that Gil McDougall hit off the forehead of Herb Score in 1956. Eventually ruined his career, and a guy that, from what I've heard, could really throw. Had a terrific left arm.
Herb Score, now a very popular broadcaster for the Cleveland Indians. Key has retired 15 in a row. And working to Mark Lemke with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Otis Nixon and Jeff Blauser singled consecutively to open the ball game. The Braves haven't managed anything against Key since then. 2 balls and a strike on Lemke, who was called out on strikes in the third. 1 of 5 strikeouts for Key tonight. Lemke will be followed by Otis Nixon. Devon White. 2 away. Here's Jim Cott.
Well, Sean and Tim, I think what's been impressive about watching Jimmy Key, we talked before the game, Glavine working on 3 days rest. Key didn't pitch much in September, and the question mark was he going to have good control? And he has had great command of all of his pitches. That's remarkable with as little as he's been able to work in the last month.
Kitty, when he did pitch in September, he was 5-0 in 6 starts. The Blue Jays 21-9 from September 1st to the end of the season. And Jimmy Key, their winningest pitcher. He's picking up where he left off.
And they had to be 21-9 as the Milwaukee Brewers were relentless in their pursuit in the American League East. Otis Nixon. The 1-0 pitch slapped to center. That drops in. And Nixon is tonight. That's the first hit for Atlanta since Blauser singled after Nixon was picked off in the top of the first inning.
Earlier this afternoon, Pat Borders out working on his throwing with bullpen coach John Sullivan and the hitting instructor and ex-Major League catcher Gene Tennis. You know, I've never seen that drill. He barehands it and works on his release. I think he's working on closing that left side and not hurrying the throw. He'll be tested here.
Well, Nixon must have a lot of thoughts running through his mind after having been picked off in the first inning. Oh, close play again. Otis froze for a moment as Key lifted the leg. And Pat Corrales steps in with some words of Otis Nixon.
See, if that right foot of Jimmy Key goes behind the left leg, he is committed to go home. That was a borderline throw to first base. That right foot was even with the left leg. If it passes the left leg, he's got to go home. If not, he can go to first base. That's one of the keys to look off of Keys. One of Keys' keys.
Jimmy Key has such an outstanding pickoff move that Bobby Cox told us before the game tonight when he became the general manager of the Atlanta Braves and left the Toronto Blue Jays. One of the first things he did was to get a tape of Jimmy Key's pickoff move, and he gave it to the minor league pitching instructors in the Braves organization as an example of how they should teach their pitchers to work. Blauser down to third, Gruber the short way to force Nixon and end the inning. On to the bottom of the sixth in Game 4 of the World Series. The Blue Jays lead 1-0.
It's the Canadian Airlines great.
Derek Jeter, humanitarian, leader, athlete, for the Movado Precision Timepiece Series 800. The art of performance. Movado Series 800.
What happens when designers imagine a refined sedan? While engineers craft a powerful sports car. What happens? You get something better than both. Introducing the all-new Nissan Maxima, the four-door sports car.
From the face-off, Richard takes it, slips a check, and now the rocket is off. He passes off, cuts to the outside, into the corner, and behind the net. He's waiting. Richard cuts to the inside of the slot for the pass. He shoots, he scores! Richard from
Imagine two of the best together. Invesco and Trimark together. Look forward to global investment opportunities you never thought possible.
Tom Brady, strategist, athlete, MVP for the Movado Precision Timepiece Series 800. The art of performance. Movado Series 800.
Korea Sparkling.
ESPN Classic is vintage cool. Call your local cable or satellite provider to order today.
You're watching Where Were You in '92? Here on ESPN Classic.
Toronto leads 1-0 in Game 4 of the World Series, the second World Series game ever played outside the United States, and got off to such a great start last night, Tim. I thought the announcement that was made by the public address announcer concerning the issue before last night's game started diffused that whole situation. We really haven't heard a word about it since then.
It was one of the most inspirational pregame ceremonies that I have ever seen. The flag, of course, it's a big story. It was a big story before last night's game, being held upside down, a huge mistake. A mistake admitted by the Marine Corps, and they requested that they hold the Canadian flag last night while the Royal Canadian Mounted Police held the American flag. And telling you, the reaction from the crowd was just about as classy as you can get.
I think that's a great way to describe this city and the people who live here.
Absolutely.
Otis Nixon under the fly ball from Roberto Alomar. 1 out. In the bottom of the 6th, the Blue Jays batting against Tom Glavine with a 1-0 lead. The only run in this ball game came in the bottom of the 3rd on a home run starting that inning by Pat Borders. Joe Carter has bounced to 3rd and lined into a double play. Glavine working on his best string of the night now. He has set down 6 in a row. And Carter looks at ball 1 outside. He'll be followed by Dave Winfield. Two-0. As Tim mentioned, in Game 1, Tom Glavine was drafted by the Los Angeles Kings of the National Hockey League in the 4th round of the NHL draft. While he was in high school in Massachusetts, he elected to pursue a baseball career. And you can tell the interest in the World Series when the Toronto Maple Leafs last night played a game less than an hour away in Hamilton, Ontario, a regular season game against the Ottawa Senators, and only sold about 6,000 tickets. They ordinarily sell out every game. Joe Carter is aboard on a walk. Just the second, make that the third thrown by Tom Glavine. That'll bring up Dave Winfield, who drew one of the two other walks thrown by Glavine that came in the fourth inning. Pendleton and Berryhill at the mound. Again, we cannot see into the bullpen from our vantage point to ascertain whether or not there is bullpen action. The managers can't see into the bullpens here either, but they do have the benefit of TV screens located in each dugout. There it is beyond Cito Gaston, and he can punch up either bullpen, see how his men are faring in or who is warming up in the opposing team's bullpen.
That's their way of monitoring what goes on down there.
Excellent choice of words. One ball on Winfield. They didn't miss a trick when they put this place together.
They really didn't.
Carter at first, one out, bottom of the sixth, 1-0 Blue Jays. Toronto out hitting Atlanta 4-3. It's been an error-free ball game to this point.
Tell you who else didn't miss a trick. John Schuerholz of the Atlanta Braves putting this team together, or Pat Gillick of the Toronto Blue Jays, the two general managers, respectively, of the Atlanta Braves and Toronto Blue Jays.
Glavine took a bit off that one and got it over on a strike on Winfield with Olerud on deck. Pat Gillick is certainly the architect of the Blue Jays' success, and their success considerable considering that they did not enter Major League Baseball until 1977. They've had 10 consecutive winning seasons, including 1992, the longest current winning streak of any Major League team. Pat Gillick has announced his intention to retire after the 1994 season. He'll only be 57 years old, and he wants to relax and enjoy life. Chop to third. Pendleton gets Carter. Lemke couldn't get Winfield. Carter erased for the second out of the inning, and Winfield is aboard at first with two down. We're at the Sky Dome in Toronto for Game 4 of the 1992 series. Toronto leads 2-1, and the Blue Jays lead Game 4 1-0 with 2 outs and a runner aboard in the 6th inning. The only run in this game on Pat Porter's leadoff home run in the bottom of the 3rd off Tom Glavine. Now John Olerud, who struck out swinging in the 2nd and then picked up his first hit of the World Series with a single in the 4th. He tried to hold up, but it was much too late. 0-1 on Olerud. Glavine to first. Mark Lemke is playing in Windsor with John Olerud at the plate. And he is the second baseman in name only.
I was thinking the same thing. Not only that, he's not playing Olerud to pull toward the hole with Hunter holding the runner on at first base. He's playing more towards second base. Pretty good idea that Glavine will pitch Olerud away.
He does, and it's a ball, 1-2.
The middle infielders in particular, well, they can see the signs that a catcher is flashing. So you'll see them move according to the pitch. If it's an off-speed pitch, they'll play a hitter more to pull. If it's a fastball away, they'll play him more the other way. This is a changeup here.
And bounce through the middle. Wynn found second. He'll continue toward third and get there as Nixon throws to second. So John Olerud is 2 for 3 tonight. And the Blue Jays threaten with 2 down in the 6th inning. Runners at first and third.
Here is is the changeup, and it hits the mid of Damon Berryhill, but you see how Olerud waits so very well. Branch Rickey used to say, a quiet bat and a good ball. 6 words. A quiet bat and a good ball, and this guy has a quiet bat and swings at good pitches. Branch Rickey would love John Olerud.
Cito Gaston says when Olerud comes back to the bench, if he says a pitch was a ball, it was a ball, even if it was called a strike by the home plate umpire. He has a tremendous eye. Candy Maldonado to short and fly to left. 1-0 Toronto. They have a chance to build on that lead here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Glavine staying away, and he missed away. 1-0 on Maldonado.
We talked about a quiet bat with Olerud. Look how active the hands are of Candy Maldonado. Most hitters have movement in the hands. They do that to trigger their swing. Olerud, very, very unusual. His hands are so still when he approaches the ball, but not Candy Maldonado.
The 1-1 pitch. Late swing and a foul ball out of play to the right. Maldonado now 0 for 5 against Glavine in this World Series, and he's 16 lifetime against the Atlanta Southpaw. Maldonado at the plate with 2 outs. Winfield at third, and Olerud at first. In the 6th inning, Tom Glavine and the Braves trailing 1-0. The 1-2 pitch fouled away. Maldonado, as a result of that success with runners on base, drove in 6 runs in 6 games in the league championship series against Oakland. And he drove in the game-winning run last night. Another 1-2 pitch on the corner. Strike 3. Well, that was one of the few times tonight a borderline pitch went the pitcher's way. Ooh. 1-0 Blue Jays.
ESPN Classic is going old school as we present the superstars of the American Wrestling Association. Join us in the squared circle every Wednesday and witness the cavalcade of grapplers who honed their skills in the AWA. You'll see the likes of Nick Bockwinkel, Kurt Hennig, Scott Hall, and Shawn Michaels, along with a colorful cast of characters.
We're the guys who make trains take dirt roads.
AWA Wrestling Classics, every Wednesday, only on ESPN Classic.
We don't need multiple shipping companies to do one job. As VP Operations, I say we make things easier and use FedEx for everything.
As Senior VP Operations, I agree.
As Executive Senior VP Operations, I concur. Wilfred?
You gotta stay lean and mean.
Here, here. Bravo, sir.
That's why he's the Chief Deputy Executive Senior VP Operations, Northern Hemisphere.
Here you go. Thank you, Mr. Hines. I'll be right back with your check.
How often you check your credit? Chances are, less than you need to. Not a good idea these days. Your identity could be stolen faster than you can say heartburn.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Come back and see us again soon. Thank you.
So keep an eye on yours all year long with 24/7 credit monitoring from transunion.ca. Stay you.
The Light Mystery Mansion is back. So bring us your brave, your adventurous, telling us you're daring. And you're desperate. And they still won't get in. The only way you can get in is to win. So look inside specially marked cases for your chance to spend the ultimate weekend at our house. Must be 19 years or older, no purchase necessary.
You're watching Where Were You in '92? Here on ESPN Classic.
Seventh inning with Toronto leading 1-0 in Game 4 of the World Series. Jimmy Key's fastball missed to Terry Pendleton.
John, you're right. This ball was outside, and Tommy Glavine and the Braves get a break that they will gladly accept. First time that home plate umpire Dan Morrison has wandered out of that strike zone and called a pitch a strike.
And to his credit, he's been pretty consistent all night long, and that's really all the pitchers the hitters asked for, as long as you're consistent. But that time Maldonado called out on a pitch that was not a strike. Pendleton to left field, and Maldonado has room. Todd Stottlemyre has started throwing in the Toronto bullpen. Jimmy Key is cruising right along. He's only allowed 3 hits. The Braves have only had 3 base runners through 6 1/3 tonight. The Braves have combined 3 for 21 in this game, and they're now hitting 186 as a team in this World Series with only 2 extra base hits. That's how good your pitching is. If you hit 186 through nearly 4 full games and only have 2 extra base hits, you're going to be behind in the World Series. Lonnie Smith up there with a count of 0-1 and now 0-2. Jimmy Key has been most impressive tonight. Going away. You don't say that often about Jimmy Key, but he got the fastball by Lonnie Smith.
In last night's ball game, that remarkable catch by Devon White with Deion Sanders on at second base and Terry Pendleton on at first. Pendleton passes Sanders. He's out, and Sanders goes back to tag up. The throw to John Olerud over to Kelly Gruber, and what could have been and should have been a triple play initiated by a remarkable catch by Devon White. Some people even comparing it to Mays' catch in 1954, and Devon White, scary thing is he says, I've made better catches than that.
There's Deion Sanders, who's not in the lineup tonight for Atlanta. Justice again sends it in the direction of Devon White. This one a much more routine play. Jimmy Key works another 1-2-3 inning. It's stretch time, but they're coming to their feet anyway for Jimmy Key.
ESPN Classic pays tribute to this year's Canadian Football Hall of Fame inductees with 8 straight hours of action featuring the class of 2008. See Doug Flutie, Pinball Clemens, Mike Pringle, and John Bonk in vintage CFL games that helped elevate their careers to the historic hall. Canadian Hall of Fame weekend, Saturday beginning at noon Eastern. Brought to you by Movado, the art of performance.
Derek Jeter, humanitarian, leader, athlete, for the Movado Precision Timepiece Series 800. The art of performance. Movado Series 800.
Play Happy Maniacs. Cool. That's impressive.
Get what you really want in the 2009 Ford Focus, starting at only $14,799.
Hello, I'm a Mac. And I'm a PC, here with good news for anyone who's ever been frustrated. Oh, you're fixing the problems. No, I'm making them easier to live with my new line of calming teas. There's Crashy Time Chamomile, just the thing to soothe the nerves after a Vista-related crash. Or if Vista's making your applications run slow, there's Pomegranate Patience. Now, mornings are raspberry restart time for me. That's great, PC. Also PC, afternoons, but... We should move on. Yes, let's move on, Mac. To my line of Vista stress-relieving bath salts.
There are millions of mortgages in Canada. If you have one, you have a Manulife One number. Take Mike, for example. Mike and his wife Sarah have a mortgage, line of credit, car loan, and several savings and checking accounts. Simply by combining all their inefficient accounts into the revolutionary Manulife One, Mike calculated they could save $46,980 in interest and own their home years sooner. Discover your Manulife One number today at manulifeone.ca.
Tom Brady, athlete, MVP for the Movado Precision Timepiece Series 800. The art of performance. Movado Series 800.
You're watching Where Were You in '92? Here on ESPN Classic.
Another World Series moment from Game 4 in 1969.
There's a ball hit to the outfield. Robinson playing his face. Swoboda makes the dive. Got it. Here comes Robinson in to the plate. Scores. Tie ball game.
Diving one-handed catch by Ron Swoboda of that Brooks Robinson liner of the ninth inning. Helped hold the Orioles to one run. It sent the game into extra innings. That's won it in 10, 2-1. Went on to win the series over Baltimore. Kelly Gruber with a swing and a miss for strike one. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Last time up, he bounced into a 6-4-3 double play. Glavine has been walking the tightrope in just about every. He's only worked 2 1-2-3 innings through the first 6.
Blue Jays have stranded runners in scoring position 4 of the 6 innings. So they have had chances to blow this game open with 2 out base hits.
1 and 2 now on Gruber. It's the bottom third of the order. Gruber, Borders, and Lee against Glavine. Two and 2. Bobby Cox a moment ago managed to chuckle despite the situation. Breaking ball bounce foul. Still 2 and 2.
Situations like these, chuckles come through clenched teeth.
Kelly Gruber with some help last night from an old friend, Willie Upshaw, the former Blue Jay, who is serving as a minor league hitting instructor in the Toronto organization. Kelly said he got a couple of pointers from Upshaw before the game last night, helped him relax at the plate, and he thought they contributed to his home run. Gruber has battled all the way to a count of 3 and 2 for Cito Gaston. The payoff pitch to the leadoff batter is ball 4. The 4th walk thrown by Glavine. Tommy has only struck out 1 tonight, and that was rather 2 tonight. One of those was on the borderline pitch last inning to Maldonado. Gruber with decent speed. He's been slowed by injury. And Borders at the plate. He has accounted for the only run in this game with a leadoff home run in the 3rd. Pete Smith, the right-hander, up again. Mike Stanton, the left-hander, up for the first time in the Atlanta bullpen. Ed Yost, the bullpen coach, in the middle. Borders bunts toward first, a foul ball.
Damon Berryhill 1 for 13. He did have the 3-run homer in game 1. And Pat Borders 5 for 11. And he's bunting in this situation? No way. I think he either missed a sign, or if he was sacrificing, I think it's a wrong play. I mean, here's your hottest hitter, right-hander against a left-handed pitcher. You have the hammer. It's a 1-0 ball game. I think you go for the throat in this situation. You don't play add-on baseball.
And you have the number 9 hitter on deck in the ice-cold Manuel Lee, who's just 1 for 11 in the series with a 0 for 2 tonight.
Devon White is in the hold, and he is 2 for 3 tonight. But coming into this game, he was ice-cold. 1 for 13, so he's 3 for 16, even though he is 2 for 3 tonight. But I think the odds are better if you swing away here. And of course, you have to now with the count 0-2.
Bottom of the 7th inning, Toronto. The 0-2 pitch is just inside. Glavine has been uncharacteristically wild tonight. He's walked 4 in 6 innings plus 1 batter. He averaged fewer than 3 walks per 9 innings this year. Third was his first in 1992 off a left-handed pitcher. He hit 13 during the regular season, but amazingly, all of them were against right-handers. Pat Borders, a native of Lake Wales, Florida, at the plate with Kelly Gruber at first base and nobody out. Nixon was playing in left center. He has to drift to right center to make the catch. 1 out, and Gruber is back to first. Now Manuel Lee. He's 0 for 2. Has bounced to second and to third.
One thing Manuel Lee did this year, he cut down on his strikeouts. Last year, he became the only player in Major League history to have over 100 strikeouts with no home runs.
That's not a good combination.
No. It means your on-base percentage is way, way down. But he did have a much better year this year than he did last year with the bat.
Struck out only 73 times and hit 3 homers and hit for a respectable average of 263. Gruber on the move. Lee taps it back to the mound. Glavine has to go to first. Gruber went sliding into second base. Well, now his uniform matches his helmet.
Gruber on the hit and run, and all a manager can do for a hitter is try to give him a good pitch to hit. And Manuel Lee doing his imitation of Bruce Lee as he chops down on the high fastball. But really, that's all you can do is pick a pitcher who's always around the plate. Glavine has been like, but the pitch was a little up, but Manuel Lee, on making the out, does push Gruber to second base.
So the Blue Jays have still another great chance to score as Glavine delivers to Devon White. Base hit left field. Gruber's being waved in. Gant with the throw to the plate. It is cut off. Throw to second. They have White in a rundown. The Blue Jays lead 2-0, and White is tagged out to end the inning. Gruber scores a big run on the 3rd hit of the night by Devon White.
This ball scooting through to the outfield. And Devon White shrewdly trying to go to second base, making Terry Pendleton cut the ball off.
Tom Glavine's leadoff walk to Kelly Gruber in the bottom of the 7th came back to haunt the Brave southpaw. Devon White's single would plate Gruber, who remained in the game despite being shook up on the play, as Toronto opened a comfortable 2-0 lead. Now, the reason for the solace had to be the effectiveness of Jimmy Key. He'd struck out 6 and was pitching a 3-hit shutout through 7 innings. Would Jimmy continue to be the key to success, or would he begin to unravel? We'll find out after the break.
Nissan Versa. It makes driving fun.
Casino. Inter Casino.
Harvey's ongoing search to make Canada's best-tasting burger even tastier led us to Brandon in Ottawa.
Hey, what about adding Canadian back bacon?
You're a genius, Brendan. Canadian back bacon with...
let's go with mustard, tomatoes, and pickles.
Anything for the man who helped make Canada's best-tasting burger even tastier. At Harvey's, there's a burger with your name on it.
Harvey's makes your hamburger a beautiful thing.
Korea Sparkling.
It's time to change the meaning of Taiwan On. Support Project Red Ribbon. Support safe, sober driving.
You're watching Where Were You in '92? Here on ESPN Classic.
After 7, the Blue Jays lead 2-0 on a home run by Pat Borders in the third and a two-out single by Devon White in the seventh and Kelly Gruber. Jimmy Key has allowed only 3 hits without issuing a walk through 7. Kelly Gruber still a bit sore. You can see the scrape on his chin as he went sliding head first into home plate with the second run of the night for Toronto.
Here is the play by Ron Gant, and what Devon White does, he makes Pendleton cut the ball off. Now you might say, well, Gruber would have been safe at home anyway, but Devon White was making sure by trading an out for a run. Good base running by White.
A ball and a strike on Ron Gant. He's fly to right into center. He's the leadoff man in the 8th inning. Brian Hunter and Damon Berryhill scheduled to follow against Key. And should Key falter, Toronto is to the part of the ball game where its bullpen specializes. Dwayne Ward, the setup man for Tom Henke, and he's warming up with David Wells in the bullpen. Gant got a piece of it. 2-2 the count. Gruber has also been bothered by a sore neck lately, and looked like that was bothering him during the break between innings. The trainer did come out onto the field. Breaking ball hammered past Gruber into the left field corner. It was not touched by any fans down there, and Ron Gant breaks an 0 for 16 with a leadoff double. The first extra base hit of the night for Atlanta, and just the third for the Braves in the World Series.
A breaking ball hammered between Gruber and the bag. Kelly way off the bag, of course, with the 2-run lead. It's interesting, had they gotten the lead to 2 runs to 2-0 with that run, Gruber probably would have been on the line and sucks that ball up.
Our report from the field is that Kelly Gruber just had the wind knocked out of him, nothing more than that. He's close to the line now with Hunter at the plate. Hunter drops down a good bunt. Everybody is safe. Gruber was along the line and very deep at third. And Hunter bunted the ball past Jimmy Key so that he had no chance at it. Now the tying run is at first base with nobody out.
You have an idea of where Kelly Gruber was. He was deep, as Sean said. Jimmy Key has no play. Gruber has no play. And Brian Hunter catching everybody by surprise. That is a terrific bunt by Hunter.
Jimmy Williams threw a slew of signs for Berryhill and the two runners. Berryhill was struck out and bounced back to the mound. Borders looking into the dugout for help. We're in the 8th inning. Toronto leads 2-0. Berryhill pops up a bunt. Borders fields it in foul ground for the first out. Well, with Berryhill struggling, they were trying to get that tying run in a scoring position, but it backfired as he popped up the bunt.
I think the key word is struggling there. As a right-handed batter, Berryhill has not done well during the series. He elects to bunt, and the problem that Bobby Cox has, he can't pinch hit for Berryhill unless you want to go to a guy like Francisco Cabrera. If it's the 9th inning, that may be what he would have done. But it's the 8th, and they still need defense, but more than that, they need runs. Often, or more often than not, you do not play for a tie on the road. It's hard to tell whether Berryhill was bunting for a base hit or bunting just to push Hunter to second base.
Lemke lances it off Key. Charged by Gruber. He throws to first in time to get Lemke. Gant scores from third with the first Atlanta run of the night. It's 2-1, and the tying run is in scoring position now with 2 outs as Brian Hunter moved up to second base.
And what a play by Kelly Gruber. Great reactions. Watch the ball hammered off Key's right foot, it appeared. Yep, right off the right arm. Now watch Gruber barehand the ball to make the only play he could to get Lemke by a step. Boy, that is a terrific reaction by Kelly Gruber.
As we mentioned last night, Cito Gaston thinks he might be the best defensive third baseman in all of Major League Baseball. He's played well in the field all year despite his season-long hitting problems. This will mark the end of the outing for Jimmy Key. The call has already been sent out for Dwayne Ward. Key, a longtime Blue Jay and one of their most popular players, and already they're on their feet for Jimmy Key as he gets ready to depart. We'll be back in just a moment.
It was a pivotal game for us, and to pitch the way he pitched, and in a lot of ways, a lot of people talked about the fact that he knew it was his last game as a Blue Jay, and the tip of his cap as he came off the field leading in that ball game. It was a very special moment, and he's always been a big game pitcher, always knew how to pitch. He was a guy that really studied and pitched to his strengths and really maximized it that night.
Hola, este es el nuevo motor Rocket E8 de Motorola. Parece un teléfono, pero con solo tocar el botón. Usa la rueda de navegación para buscar entre tus contactos y si pones al modo musical.
New Ultima. I hear they're pretty cheap these days.
They're not cheap. They're inexpensive. You cut your own hair. That's cheap.
You'll get passionate about new prices on every Nissan model, like the Altima, now from $22,698. See retailer today.
It's a story. The best part about hockey are the stories, the drama.
That's a Major League collision right there.
And you create it. Oh! I'm a sucker for drama. What can I say?
Rated everyone 10 and up.
Console now starting at $199.
In this world, there are spenders and savers.
But can the two ever meet? Yes, because now when you spend with your Scotiabank debit card, your purchases can be rounded up, and the difference is transferred into a savings account. It's called Bank the Rest, and if you sign up now with the Scotia One account, we'll match your savings up to $100. So you spend and you save. You're richer than you. Scotiabank.
This will get a run home, maybe more. Mosby going back, looking up, out of here, and into the black seats, the hitting background. There aren't many leadoff men who can launch one like that to dead center field. Canseco bids for the second homer of the inning. If it's fair, he's got it. And it settles into the upper deck.
Oh, my goodness.
A double by Weiss and a pair of monumental homers from Ricky Henderson and Canseco.
You're watching Where Were You in '92 here on ESPN Classic.
Well, as the Atlanta Braves have lost back-to-back heartbreakers in games 2 and 3, Bobby Cox has come under a lot of criticism and second-guessing, and he's going to have to answer that question you raised after this one, Tim, about the lack of a pinch hit. Jeff Blauser.
Against one of the toughest right-handed pitchers in the American League, Dwayne Ward.
Roberto Alomar begins the Toronto 8th. Blue Jays leading 2-1. Alomar, Carter, and Winfield coming up against Glavine, who's gone all the way.
You might say that, well, if you send up Sid Bream or Deion Sanders, then you're going to have David Wells in the game. Well, you're going to have a left-handed pitcher in there against whom left-handed hitters have hit .293 against. And you get Ward out of the game. I mean, he's your primary setup guy. I mean, would you trade David Wells for Dwayne Ward? I think any manager would say yes. Especially with Jeff Blauser, 4 for 34 in postseason play. Tell you, I don't see how he could not use a pinch hitter in that situation.
Deion Sanders still on the bench. Bream bypassed as would have been the most logical pinch hitting candidates. Alomar threw the bat at the ball. He lifts a lazy fly to right. 1 out in the 8th inning. At the conclusion of tonight's game, Tim and I will select the Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the game. Chevrolet will donate $1,000 in the player's name to the Special Olympics. Sid Bream still relegated to the role of spectator as well.
I think you'd go after a guy like Sanders with the tying run on third base, because Sanders can beat out an infield hit. That's another advantage you have with a guy who can run like Deion Sanders. You have the tying run on third base. I think you give yourself every opportunity. Of course, Sanders hadn't faced a left-handed pitcher in a long time. But if he makes contact in the infield, those high chopper varieties, it's a tie ball game. I mean, a lot of ways to go, but Jeff Blauser against Dwayne Ward is the worst of those ways.
Particularly with Blauser 4 for his last 34.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss by Carter. 1 and 2 on the Toronto right fielder. He's batting with 1 out in the 8th. The Blue Jays lead 2-1 as they try to take a 3-1 lead in the World Series. Wayne Ward got them out of the problem in the 8th. Carter lines one to short. Blauser caught it. The Braves do have the heart of their order coming up in the top of the 9th. Batters 3, 4, and 5. Terry Pendleton, Lonnie Smith, and David Justice. Here's Dave Winfield, 0 for 2 with a walk. Short again. Blauser throws him out. Glavine works a 1-2-3-8. We go to the 9th. Pendleton, Smith, and Justice coming up for Atlanta. The Blue Jays lead 2-1.
ESPN Classic is vintage cool. Call your local cable or satellite provider to order today.
Hi, it's Vince with ShamWow. You'll be saying wow every time you yowl. It's like a chamois, it's like a towel, it's like a sponge. A regular towel doesn't work wet. This works wet or dry. This is for the house, the car, the boat, the RV. ShamWow holds 20 times its weight in liquid. Look at this. It just does the work. Why do you want to work twice as hard? Doesn't drip. Doesn't make a mess. Wring it out. You wash it in the washing machine. Made in Germany. You know the Germans always make good stuff. You can cut it in half. Use one as a bath mat. Drain your dishes with the other one. Use one as a towel. Olympic divers, they use it as a towel. Look at that, completely dry. Put a wet sweater, roll it up. It dries your sweaters. Here's some cola. Wine, coffee, cola, pet stains. Not only is the damage going to be on top, there's your mildew. That is going to smell. See that? The most observed. We're going to do this in real time. Look at this. Put on the spill, turn it over without even putting any pressure. 50% of the cola right there. You follow me, camera guy? The other 50%, the color starts to come up. No other towel is going to do that. It acts like a vacuum. And look at this, virtually dry on the bottom. See what I'm telling you? ShamWow, you'll be saying wow every time.
I can't live without it. I just love it. Oh my gosh, I don't even buy paper towels anymore.
If you're going to wash your cars or any kind of vehicle, you'd be out of your mind not to own one of these.
All I can say is ShamWow.
You're going to spend $20 every month on paper towels anyway. You're throwing your money away. The mini ShamWows are for everything, for everyday use. This lasts 10 years. This lasts a week. I don't know, it sells itself. The ShamWow sells for $19.95, but you get one for the house, one for the car, two for the kitchen and bathroom. But if you call now, within the next 20 minutes, because we can't do this all day, we'll give you a second set absolutely free. So that's 8 ShamWows for $19.95. Comes with a 10-year warranty. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-280-9519. That's 1-800-280-9519. ShamWow is not available in stores and is made in Germany. Beware of ShamWow imitators. Call 1-800-280-9519. That's 1-800-280-9519. Call now.
You're watching Where Were You in 92? Here, ESPN Classic.
Tom Hinkie with one save in this series. In postseason play, he's 2-0 with 3 saves. He had 34 on the season. Dwayne Ward, whom he replaced, had 12. So 46 saves between the Hinkie-Ward tandem this season for the Blue Jays.
Hinkie on to protect a 1-run lead in the 9th inning. Facing batters 3, 4, and 5 for Atlanta. Pendleton, Smith, and Justice. Terry Pendleton 0 for 3 tonight. He's 3 for 15 in the World Series. The Blue Jays are guarding each line. And Hinkie's first pitch is a fork ball for ball 1.
Terry Pendleton seeking some revenge. You may remember Sunday night's game after Deion Sanders and that terrific at bat had walked. Terry Pendleton made the last out against Tom Hinkie with the tying run on second base.
Pendleton taking all the way on 2-0. It's 2-1. Fastball fouled out of play. Now it's 2-2. In winning games 2 and 3, the Blue Jays made World Series the first time in World Series play that a team has come back to win 2 consecutive games in which they trailed in the 8th inning or later. Now the Braves trying to turn the tables on the Blue Jays tonight. The 2-2 pitch. He struck him out.
The splitter on the 2-2 count. That ball, the bottom falling out of it. And Terry Pendleton, who normally is tough to strike out, goes down the hands of a Hinkie sinker. A split finger fastball.
Lonnie Smith. Ball one. Joe Smith is 0 for 3 with the strikeout by Pendleton. Batters 3, 4, and 5 in the Atlanta lineup tonight. A combined 0 for 10. Not a good-looking swing. He tried to check it but couldn't.
I think Lonnie tried to lure Hinkie into thinking that he was going to take a strike. He took a very close pitch and now goes after a ball in the dirt.
1 out and the bases empty in the top of the ninth. Toronto leads 2-1. The 1-1 to Smith. Bounce foul, and now it's 1-2. The 1-2 pitch. Bounce back to the mound. Hinkie stumbled a bit, but threw him out. Two down in the ninth.
Hinkie falls to the first base side, recovers, and throws out Smith.
And the slide did not help to speed Lonnie Smith up on his trip toward first base. The Braves down to their final out in Game 4. David Justice is 0 for 3. Ball one, low and away. They do have the shift on this time for Justice.
And the outfield very, very deep to protect against the double. Joe Carter in right field near the track.
Justice with a high fly ball, not very deep. Maldonado is there. The Blue Jays win, and they lead the World Series 3-1. Tom Hinkie saves it for Jimmy Key as the Blue Jays win Game 4 by a final score of 2-1.
Tom Hinkie nails down the win with his 5th save of the 1992 postseason as the Blue Jays sneak out another one-run victory to take a commanding 3-1 lead in the series. Jimmy Key, undoubtedly with the most important win of his career with the Blue Jays, and afterwards the lefty was the focus of my post-game report.
Jimmy Key was the odd man out in the American League Championship when the Jays decided to go to a 3-man rotation. But because some arms got tired, manager Cito Gaston decided to put Key in this critical Game 4 of the World Series. And like many of Gaston's moves so far, this one was brilliant. Key was brilliant, holding the Atlanta bats in check most of the way and making a key play in the first inning by picking off the speedy Otis Nixon at first base.
I think it made a statement, right off the bat. If he goes and steals that base, then they, say, hey, we can steal on you too. And I was very. It was one of my focuses that if Otis did get on a couple of the other guys to make sure they don't get a stolen base early in the game.
Jimmy's got a very good move over there, and I hadn't seen him before, and he almost picked me off. Not only one time did he get me, but he almost got me again earlier. But he's got a very good move. They talking about they can't hold guys good. This guy's tough to run on.
I know when I told Jimmy that he was going to be one of the starters, he was quite pleased. And as he said up here, he's one of the guys that have been here as long as I have, trying to get to where we are now. It's not over. Hopefully we'll win one more ball game, and we'll finally reach that goal that we've been trying for so long and so hard.
What do you remember about Jimmy Key when you managed him?
Well, he helped me stick around here for a few years by the way he pitched. So I remember him as a great pitcher. He looked every bit as good tonight as he did years ago. Probably hadn't had the best year of his career, but he certainly pitched great tonight. He had excellent stuff.
You hit that ball. Were you thinking it might have gone foul this close?
I thought it was going to go foul. I didn't think it was going to get out of the park either. I hit it a little bit out in front of it. And I took off running to the first base. I didn't watch it get out of here. I was maybe hoping to get 2 bases out of it.
I don't think it's a case that we're flat. We're just, nothing's happening for us. Everybody's ready to play and everybody's fired up. And, we very easily could have won game 2, and then last night we hit the ball hard, but we didn't get too much to show for it. They made some great defensive plays, and we made some base running mistakes.
If this does turn out to be your last game as a Blue Jay, was this your finest hour?
Probably. Yeah, this is the most satisfying moment in my career, to be able to win a World Series game. And you want the opportunity to play them. There's a lot of players that never get a chance to play in a World Series, and to have one of your better performances, it makes it that much more special.
As he left the Skydome mound in the 8th inning, Jimmy Key tipped his hat to a crowd of more than 50,000 standing on its feet. Not only have they witnessed the finest hour of his Blue Jay career, but perhaps his last too. Jimmy Key's a free agent at the end of this season and may not return. On this night, he pitched his first World Series victory. On Thursday night, he and his teammates may have earned a World Series ring. Rod Smith, TSN, in Toronto.
Toronto takes a 3-1 lead in the series, and with the next game being at Skydome, you had to like the Blue Jay chances. However, Lonnie Smith's grand slam off Jack Morris in Game 5 sparked the Braves to a 7-2 victory and sent the series back to Atlanta. But it was there that the Blue Jays finally clinched their first World Series title with an emotional 4-3 extra innings win in Game 6. For everyone here at ESPN Classic Canada, I'm Rod Smith. Thanks for watching.
Doug Flutie, Pinball Clemens, Mike Pringle, John Bonk. ESPN Classic pays tribute to this year's Canadian Football Hall of Fame.